So he found like a little mini community in Thailand that he could connect to, but he was depressed. He was talking about how he's like the quality of his life as a digital nomad and the absolute freedom made him depressed. And so it's interesting because what Arian picked up on was probably a lot of the conversations around a lot of those digital nomads thinking, I need a community. But then there's also this other case study around the businesses, incubators and things like that. There's this other data set that's kind of pointing in that direction as well. So I just listened to that and I'm like, that seems weird. He was so depressed like that, but he was so willing to like express it. And it points to that going back to community and hospitality, right? It's like you have to have people that you love and love you in your community.
Yeah.
So I think it's such a cool idea.
I mean, I could talk about this forever. I think, and this is my vision for like where I think Kiln is continually going to, but you know, when they kind of flew me out and interviewed me, they're obviously just like with Nick and several other of our people are from hospitality. It's like they're excited about the idea of like, okay, luxury kind of white glove service and really premium service. How could you bring that in? And you know, as I looked around and thought about it, I was like, I don't think we're going to pamper people a ton within co-working, and that's why they want to be there. Like everyone likes to be pampered a little bit, and it's good, but you're going to like a 5-star resort and getting a massage every once in a while. You're not doing that every day. And if you were, it would lose its specialness anyway. It's like kids who grew up going to the Four Seasons it's not that special to them because they're used to that their whole life, right?
From the Blue Form Media Studios, this is the 435 Podcast, the pulse of Southern Utah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the 435 Podcast. I'm your host, Robert McFarland, and today we're going to get into the thrilling world of co-working spaces. Kiln, international company, has picked St. George, a 40,000 square foot building at River Crossing, but the whole story is actually very fascinating. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Sit down with Wes. He's a regional director, and Nick, he's the director for the St. George location. You're definitely going to want to meet these guys. Enjoy this episode. Thank you to our sponsors. We'll see you guys out there. So where did you guys grow up? You grew up north.
So I'm from Northern California.
Northern California. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Moved out here to go to school and played baseball out here. And
oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
I've just stayed. Yeah, it's a great place to be. But yeah, living in Northern California. Great spot to be, right outside of Lake Tahoe. So,
oh man,
yeah.
I asked my wife to marry me in Lake Tahoe.
You're kidding? No,
yeah, she had no idea. Her family was all there. Not that anybody cares, but yeah, that's where I surprised her. Lake Tahoe. We love Lake Tahoe.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
The best. Oh, it's the best. Yeah,
it is. So, Weston, where are you from?
Texas,
suburb
of Houston.
Houston, nice, man.
Yeah, in some ways, it's nice in some ways.
I mean, just like any big city, though, right? Like it's if it's a burb of something, right? They kind of all blend together, and there's some good things and some bad things.
Yeah, hot and humid, a lot of bugs, but super nice people, good food. Yeah, you kind of love where you grow up. So
yeah,
that was good.
Your family's from there?
No, actually, my family's from California.
Northern California is where your family's from? Is that what you said?
Yeah, my dad's from the Bay Area, but my mom's from LA. Anyway, they moved to Texas for my dad's work, and I was born, so I grew up there.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Back in the 80s.
Born in 86.
87 here. Where are you at, Nick?
97, baby.
97?
Yeah.
You're my nephew's age.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's funny thinking about where people move and like the years that they moved there and like jobs and stuff in the 80s. Yeah, there's a lot of people moving from California to Texas in the 80s for a lot of different other reasons. So what brought you to, how'd you get to St. George?
Okay, yeah, good question. A lot of my family has lived at some point or another in Utah, and we'd like take family trips out here. A lot of my older siblings went to school out here. I went to school out here. But
where'd you go to school?
UVU.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Cool.
Go Wolverines.
Yep.
I studied hospitality management. So I actually got into hotels, which Nick also did.
That's right.
I did. I worked at Southern Utah at Amangiri, which is near Lake Powell.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That
it was
place
amazing.
is insane.
Yeah. What's funny about it, looking back, this was like 2013-ish. I was there a year and a half, but we were newly married with one child, our daughter. And like I was doing this purely for the resume, right? It's just like awesome experience, really cool place. I loved it. But long days, and my wife, we lived in Page, and she's just like newly, we've been married like a little over a year, little baby, and she's just like, I just burned through every show on Netflix for that year and a half.
There's a
supporting
total
me.
of 10 families that live in this town, and none of them have little kids.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to do.
It was crazy, but I mean, beautiful. So I've always loved Southern
So
Utah for that
beautiful.
reason.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So Amagiri. I can't pass on Amagiri. So you worked there for a year in 2013. It was fairly new at that time, right?
Yeah, I think I came once they've been open a year. I was there a year and a half total. It is unbelievable. I mean, like, it's cool to work in resorts and hotels, and even with Kiln, like when everyone who comes in the doors is like pretty excited, right?
Yeah.
They're amazed at the landscape there, and that
They were sold before they walked through the doors. They were like, this
Yes.
place I know is going to be amazing.
And Amman is cool because they don't really do any marketing. It's all like word of mouth. It's like super ultra luxe. And so there's these people that have like talked to their friends who have been, or they've looked at things online, but it's not like, so there's some like kind of mystery there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like really curious of what it'll be like.
Yeah. So I'm curious on the management side of it. Those first couple of years, because of that word of mouth thing, did it take a minute to get rolling, or was it you guys stayed busy from the jump?
Good question. Busy from the jump for the most part. Again, I wasn't there the first year, but
Yeah,
I
just
think
think of like those 2 years, like even most startups, you just think of like any startup business, it takes time to like catch on, right? It's not like instantly word of mouth spreads and you're blowing up.
yeah, and this was probably like location number 20 for them or something like that.
Oh,
right?
really?
For the resort brand,
Oh,
yeah, based
okay.
out of Phuket, Thailand.
So I went on my honeymoon in Phuket.
Jeez, Tahoe,
Look at that.
Phuket,
Tahoe.
you are well traveled.
I did 9 countries. I backpacked Europe too after college, so I've been all over Europe too.
Wow,
I sidebarred you. Sorry,
it's a
about
great
that.
sidebar. No, what's funny is people who've gone to multiple Amman resorts, they kind of have labeled themselves, and now internally at the company they go with it. They call them Amman junkies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, at any like ultra luxury resort or hotel, you have kind of like a sheet every day, a status sheet or something that shows all the guest information. People who are coming in that day,
Yeah.
people who are in their middle of their trip called a stayover, or who are departing. But you got all these profile notes on them, and there was a section under every name of how many different Amman resorts they've been to. So when you had someone that stayed at like 27 different ones and had all these like labels, you're like, geez, because
They're all
a
in.
minimum of $1,400 a night when I was there.
Yeah, I know. Right now, I think it's like $3,000 now or something like that, right?
Yeah,
I
it
think,
just keeps
yeah.
going up.
Or more. I mean, again, if it's $3 a night or $5 a night, whoever can afford that doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right? Is that probably true?
Very
It's true.
Yeah.
So the descriptions, I want to know more about the descriptions. We're not into Kiln yet. Did they have like how many kids they have? Did they have like personal profiles on them too? Especially like that guy, 27, like resorts. The resort staff gets to know this guy,
Yeah.
this person, woman or man.
Yeah, and I think the goal is like if they've never been to Amangiri, right? They all have a different suffix.
Mhm.
So Aman means peaceful, and then Giri meant mountain.
Okay.
Still does in Sanskrit. So we would like to say that even if they had never been to Amangiri, we should know as much about them as the one that they stayed at in France or wherever.
Mhm.
But it's all incumbent upon or dependent on those team members there putting the notes in, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But you're looking
The
for
human
anything
function.
like, oh, I noticed that this is what the drink they order every time, right? Whenever they
Yeah.
go to eat. Or you find out an anniversary or a birthday or the name of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trying to put anything in there that'll be relevant. And just even if it was something really small, if you show up across the world and they're like, oh, how's your dog Buster doing? They're like blown away, right?
Totally.
So it's pretty cool.
So hospitality, I mean, those are like some fundamental things. So, thinking of Amman as a brand and Kiln as a brand, it sounds to me like co-working space. When you think of WeWork, they were around this brand of kind of like, you're going to get a ton of stuff. And they were onto the right idea, like the design of the office space, the features and things like that. They were onto something, but then they had a poor business model going into it. And I think most people are kind of familiar with WeWork because they had like the Netflix. Isn't there like a movie or documentary about them?
Mm-hmm.
So, but applying that luxury feel, that Amangiri experience to office working space, that it's almost like it's needed because you're building business relationships with the people that are in these locations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so for you as the staff, is that kind of like a pinned high point here? Is like, this is a hospitality business and we also rent office spaces. Is that right?
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts? I have some. But you go first.
No, you're hitting it.
I cut Nick out of the conversation. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
He couldn't hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm going deaf. So no, hospitality is really what we do. We sell office space, but it's the community and hospitality that we really preach. And it's the same thing as a hotel where you see somebody walk through the door and you know their name, you know their kids. You're asking questions on how their life is going versus strictly about business. And that's a business model that works, and that's a business model that Kiln kind of takes after versus the competitors where it's business first. And you can kind of see the shift in how people react to that, where people would prefer to have a personal connection to the person that they're going to see every single day.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about hotels, Nick would probably say the same, is like getting to know these people that come and stay, but oftentimes they're staying one night, maybe 4 or 5 at the most, usually, unless you're at an extended stay property. But like here, if Robert has an office, I'm going to see you every day for years, theoretically, right? Yeah. And so we're going to get to know you and experience those ups and downs with you. Like you just hired your first team member, got your first customer, you just raised a huge series round, you had to lay off someone,
or you're downsizing into that kind of a space, right? Where I had an office space and now I'm having to shrink to this space and figure out as a business owner, how do I do that functionally?
Yes.
Right.
I was just talking to Peter West. He's a CEO and co-founder of Quality, really cool company up in our Lehigh Kiln.
Cool.
And they are great, but they are really smart guys. They've used AI in their company, but they've totally pivoted all since they raised their funding. And just hearing all he's done and being able to see that, they're going to conferences and stuff. So you just have these conversations with members, and you just root for them, and you love that you get to be a part of that, and it's not just over in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea, and it's a totally modern setup. It's like almost, we are set up to evolve to this kind of a work environment. Yeah. And Nick and I we were talking about Amazon, how they're calling a bunch of people back. So it's almost like it's just a reorganization of the industry. Once again, we did it in 2020, and now we're doing it again, right? 4 years later. Totally. But the Workspace idea, the Kiln idea, because Kiln goes back a long way as well, that idea is for sure going to make it through any of that readjustment. So there's a space for that, uncertain, without a doubt. And then there's a bunch of businesses calling people back. How have you guys kind of looked at that?
Yeah. You can see kind of history repeating itself right now a little bit with Amazon and with these big companies bringing people out of remote and into the office. And where we had to adjust is making it flexible for people. Mm-hmm. And so the Kiln model is making it a flexible workspace so that you can have funding 1 month and not the next month. And you have that peace of mind that you're not locked into somewhere for 3 to 5 years, if that makes sense. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for flexibility, whether or not they work remote or they work hybrid. Kiln offers a place where you can do both. And it's a place where you can grow community and come in and work in a luxury environment that you feel like you're being taken care of at a large office space for an Amazon or for an Intel or something like that. Yeah. But it's more intimate and flexible, which is really nice.
That's cool. I want to take a step back though. Let's go back to, how did Kiln start? When did it get into the industry? Maybe we get a little history on it. Yeah. I don't know who wants to field that one.
Yeah, I wish Arian were here. He's our co-founder and CEO. He's much better at telling the story. He's a great storyteller.
One day, I want to meet him.
We'll bring him down.
We could all go to Amangiri together.
There you go. That's right.
On Kiln.
Yeah, on Kiln. Yeah. So Arian, he was working for Barclays Bank. Lived in London, I believe, at the time. But they tasked him with kind of exploring and starting a co-working brand within their company. Mm-hmm. So he and Lee, they opened ones in South Africa, London, Mumbai,
Amsterdam. Is that what maybe did you tell me Netherlands, or there was one in
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all of them. This is a company called Rise.
France, I've heard them talk about it.
But yeah, they had one in Dubrovnik, I want to say, but at any rate, had one in New York, which I've been to actually. Cool space. And it's just really interesting. It was, like you said earlier, focused on fintech, but this idea of being able to have more community focus while you're at work and seeing what kind of creativity would happen. A lot of times you get, even in a really nice Class A office building, there's still a lot of siloed people. Mm-hmm. And, there is a time for deep work. No one's ever trying to say, you should never have alone time and never be heads down, but
I don't know who says that. If they say that, don't listen to that person.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Absolutely. But there also, I think everyone recognizes the trends of people are struggling with mental health more than they ever have, right?
Yeah.
The pandemic was super hard, and the more of us have like, it's really cool to be able to have a home office, but like, is it the best thing for us to always be there?
Yeah.
So this idea of co-working and what Arian is explored with Lee is like, hybrid is here to stay. There's a lot of benefits in being together. There's a different type of work you can do. And we're a lifestyle brand. That's how he wants it. Like, we want your life to feel better because you're at Kiln, not just your bottom line, but we feel like we're accomplishing both for you.
Something you said there really jumped out to me, and I was listening to Lex Friedman. Do you listen to his podcast? Lex Friedman. He had this guy named Peter Levels on, and he is a digital nomad, and he was one of the first digital nomads, like right out of college. I think college or high school. Maybe it was college. Yeah, right out of MIT. He started just traveling the world and coding and creating stuff. And he did this challenge where it was 12 businesses in 12 months. And he was just coding, just creating software as a service type, programs and seeing if people will buy them. And he's done 40 up to this point. But his journey is interesting because and I'm bringing this back to something you said. He was so lonely. He thought this adventure, like when you listen to him taking this adventure, traveling all over, me backpacking Europe, or him, living all over the globe for, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, but he just goes to the cafe and he stayed in Thailand for a really long time because the community, like the people there in Thailand were super nice. So he found like a little mini community in Thailand that he could connect to, but he was depressed. He was talking about how he's like the quality of his life as a digital nomad and the absolute freedom made him depressed. And so it's interesting because what Arian picked up on was probably a lot of the conversations around a lot of those digital nomads thinking, I need a community. But then there's also this other case study around the businesses, incubators and things like that. There's this other data set that's kind of pointing in that direction as well. So I just listened to that and I'm like, that seems weird. He was so depressed like that, but he was so willing to like express it. And it points to that, going back to community and hospitality, right? It's like you have to have people that you love and love you in your community.
Yeah.
So I think it's such a cool idea.
Oh man, I could talk about this forever. I think, and this is my vision for like where I think Kiln is continually going to, but when they kind of flew me out and interviewed me, they're obviously just like with Nick and several other of our people are from hospitality. It's like they're excited by the idea of like, okay, luxury kind of white glove service and really premium service. How could you bring that in? And as I looked around and thought about it, I was like, I don't think we're going to pamper people a ton within co-working, and that's why they want to be there. Like, everyone likes to be pampered a little bit, and it's good, but you're going to like a 5-star resort and getting a massage every once in a while. You're not doing that every day. And if you were, it would lose its specialness anyway. It's like kids who grew up going to the Four Seasons it's not that special to them because they're used to that their whole life, right? So I'm like, and plus we don't have the team size. Like,
well, the interesting thing, just another quick side, working in an office where I've worked in an office where we're all in the same singularly focused mission. Everybody knows that one person in the office that's like, oh man, they came into the door again, and this is going to be 35 minutes. And you want to talk to them. What they have to say is important. You care about them, but it's overbearing, right? And so that feeling of having, that balance between, we don't want Kiln inserting themselves into our business, but they want us like fully in support mode, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. We're very thoughtful in the design that way. What I was going to say is just, I think that what makes people really happy is when they feel like they're contributing to something, not just belonging.
Right. Yeah.
And I think people actually like to have a little bit of parameters, not total freedom, and like something required of them. Obviously not much. We're not going to go out in a marketing campaign and be like, hey, come here because we're going to force you to mingle or something. But it's the best Kiln communities, and they're all actually really good at this, are the ones where members are hopping in when they see one of us giving a tour and being like, you got to be here. What's your name? I want to help you.
That's awesome.
Because it's their community. We're just there to kind of support and facilitate it. We're not a 5-star, resort where we're just like, you go and kind of do your own thing and you're just relaxing. And it's like this fine line of like what people really want and need, and they want to be part of something.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. So the history, he started it. He was working for Barclays. So then, but it was kind of found. It was here. I said in the intro, it's founded here in Utah. So jumping forward to the St. George location, what was it about St. George that was like, we want to put one of these world-class places in St. George?
Yeah, I think it's just the vacancy of office space in St. George. It's growing at a rapid rate, and we see all the people coming in from other states moving to Southern Utah. And if you look around, and we don't have anything like Kiln, and we also have very low vacancy of office space.
Quality office space too is like,
yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna all call it what it is.
Exactly. And so I think we're minus 1% vacancy in St. George, which is just crazy. So if you need a space, good luck. And so I think that was the pull of Kiln in St. George, is they saw the rapid growth of Southern Utah, and also there's not a lot of competition in Southern Utah. There is the WeWorks of the world, there's the Regis of the world. There's none of that down here. And so bringing Kiln, which is, like Weston said, a lifestyle brand that really fits in with the culture here in Southern Utah, where we're outdoorsy, we granola-y, you could say even, and also business-minded people are in St. George. And we're trying to build something like places like Tech Ridge and Atwood Innovation Plaza, where we can keep big business in Southern Utah instead of having them have to graduate to something else. Right?
Yeah. That's a good thought.
Yeah.
You summarize that well. Did he miss anything on why St. George?
No,
not a thing. What about the technology? We have Tech Ridge that they're developing out. There is kind of a spillover from the Silicon Slopes up in Utah County down into here, but we've had a hard time retaining a lot of those people for various reasons. Was that into consideration at all? It's like maybe you're preemptive on what a wave that might still be coming, or trying to fill a need to add to that. Was that considered at all?
I think we've seen the history in St. George of businesses starting here and outgrowing St. George. And that's when we see them moving up to Salt Lake or down to Vegas. And so that absolutely was in consideration, because it's somewhere where you can grow and keep your business in Kiln, because we can host up to 50 employees, and that's a pretty decent sized business. Yeah. And there isn't something like that here. And so that's what we're providing, is a space that people can stay and build a big business. We obviously have the places like Vasion and Zonos that are busting at the seams of their buildings. And so it's providing a larger space for these companies to stay in Southern Utah and not have to migrate up to Salt Lake or down to Vegas so that you can grow your business. And that's obviously what we're trying to build with our economic development here, is keeping these big businesses and big names in St. George. Yeah.
Speaking of economic development, have you guys been in conversations with like the county and the different economic developers and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all great. Yeah. They're all so excited. It's cool to come down and be like, wow, you guys have been working on this for years. Like we're the new guys that are coming down and just like able to benefit from all this. And we just want to see how we can fit in and be a support. But it's like, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening here.
Elaborate on that. Like, what made you think that? For some, like, when you didn't know coming in, what was said to you that gave you recognition of that right there? Does that make sense?
I mean, over the years, just having friends that have come down here and gone to Dixie or anything like that, and they've just, mentioned it. So I've always thought, I've been like, oh, I hear St. George is growing a lot. But then coming down and talking to Chad, economic development, we really like Chad and gotten to connect with him. And he's like done economic development for other places. I've lived out in North Carolina and just kind of randomly up in Provo.
Oh, crazy.
And just like seeing like there's people who have learned from different areas and then they've come back here and they're all implementing it. And when we met with like the mayor's office, we met with the county, they're all saying the same thing. Yeah. And they're complimenting each other. And they're saying like, hey, you should talk to so-and-so, or they're doing this. It's not like, again, it's not all siloed. Everyone feels like they're working towards the same thing.
Yeah. We call it Dixie spirit. That's the Dixie spirit.
There it is.
Now you know.
Very noticeable.
It's very noticeable.
It's definitely down here, because you have people that we don't even ask to post things about us that are just posting on LinkedIn or on Instagram or on Facebook or commenting on a marketing ad that we posted. Yeah. We haven't done a whole lot of, out of market stuff. A lot of it's been word of mouth, and also people posting about Kiln because they're so excited for the economic development and just the river crossing development in general. I know we've been trying to get that.
I know you brought that up
for years.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it was a sidebar that I chose not to take as we were talking. It was that location. So back in 2019, we were moving offices, Keller Williams Realty. So I was running the KW office. So I kind of did a WeWorkspace for real estate agents. Like it was only real estate agents, right? So like thinking of what does a brokerage provide the agents? right? There's obviously they have to have a brokerage to sell real estate.
Right.
Some people might not know that, but the brokerage element is you got to hang your license under that brokerage. And then that brokerage is going to promise you certain things, right? They're going to provide services namely leads, right? Is going to be the first thing. It's like, we're going to help you get business. And then there's all these other fallouts, office space being one of them. So managing office space was always like such a weird dynamic for real estate agents because some of them see zero value in it. Like me, like I'll work from my car. Like I'll just work in my truck or I'll go to a cafe or I literally can work anywhere on the fly. I don't have to have an office space, but that like isolated, quiet, nobody bug me time, it's hard to get because I'm always talking to somebody, right?
Totally.
And so back to that location, we were moving offices because we got out of our lease, Keller Williams, and we were looking for office space. And I'm like, that's the spot. It's vacant. Like we need a building right there. We need to build a building right there. And it's just such a big project to build a building, right? You guys are watching this happen all the time. And we didn't have enough time. Like truthfully, like we had about a year lead on knowing what we were going to decide to do. And a year wasn't enough. And it was and if we would have too, COVID would have happened like right in the middle of it and it would have been a total disaster.
Oh, yeah.
And so in 2020 is when we moved office spaces. But the whole time I'm looking around the county, where would I put a real estate office if it's not right on the freeway? That was it, River Crossing. Because it's like the suburban, it's like the bridge between all of the businesses and the commercial stuff and on the edge of all suburbia, right? Yep. So it's almost like your first stop into town from the suburb of St. George instead of Houston, right? So yeah, it's such a perfect location. So that site, you said you had a hard time getting in. Well, walk me through like how you guys picked that.
No, just living here for a while, I know that site's been trying to get up and running for years, and it's just taken so long. And
do you have any insight as to why?
From my understanding is
you don't have to blow anybody up. But...
Yeah, it was sold finally, and that's when the development started to take shape. And just getting people in that actually would work in that space as well. Like we're gonna have Sprouts Farmers Market, we're gonna have Kiln, we're gonna have a bunch of restaurants, and it's gonna be
Starbucks is already open.
Starbucks is open. McDonald's is open.
Popeyes across the street.
Exactly, and so finally it's starting to, and multiple banks in there actually. Yeah, so we're
Big Maverick. That's what
Big Maverick.
That's what
Big
I hear.
Maverick across the street. Yeah,
Big Maverick.
Yeah, right. But no, it's just taken so long to get that development off the ground, but it's such a prime time location, especially on River Road, especially on South River Road, where
highly needed.
You have to go that way to get to your home. So you're going to cross the Kiln branding, the whatever's in River Crossing every single day. Like when I got hired, I think I told Weston I'd driven by that building 100 times. I had no idea what it was, had no idea what was going in there. I thought it was the grocery store. Yeah. But then I found out that it was Kiln, and I'm like, wow, I literally drive by that every single day. Yeah. And so it's just such a great spot to be in. Yeah. And River Crossing, like I said, it's taken a while to get up off the ground, but now that it is, I think that we're going to see a lot of HubSpot going there.
Well, then you got the road. You might not even know the road that's going to connect. So like as George Washington, I think is what they call it now. Yeah. But as that goes out across down the Virgin to connect in with the freeway there, I mean, it's going to just keep getting better. It's like,
that's great.
If somebody hasn't signed up for Kiln and they're looking for coworker space, they have to come check it out, truthfully, because you're going to miss the window. Yeah. It's going to be full, and then it'll be always full. I think.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's great. I mean, it's good to hear validation of the spot that was chosen, and neither one of us can take credit for that, but Arian and Brighton and our team did a great job.
They nailed it.
This is interesting. One of the strategies of Kiln in general is we don't really build in urban areas, and there's a reason for that. Most co-working, if you look at WeWork, and there's some great companies that do it, but they're like rushing to get to these big cities because there's just such a huge addressable market, right? But we're thinking that hybrid work is going to be more and more here to stay, and people live outside of the city oftentimes, and more and more are moving outside, and so it's like it's going to be a lot more convenient for them to go somewhere that's 10 minutes from their house rather than having to drive into the city every day, right? And so we're still in bigger areas, but like we're not in LA or New York right now proper, and I don't know if we will at some point, but like I think we're kind of looking at those tier 2 and below in terms of population.
Yeah, and I think because you have growth there, right? Because if you go to those big cities, a full space is still a full space.
Yeah.
And so like this is 40,000 square feet, this office. Where does that rank on size to the other Kiln locations?
It's about average, maybe slightly above average now.
Slightly above?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our biggest is 80,000 in Lehigh, which will probably never do that big again. It's working well there, but I think in a lot of places it's probably a little bit bigger. But then we have, some in North County, San Diego, that are like 5,000 square feet each. Those were takeover of an existing co-working company there, but 30 to 40 is kind of the average going forward.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing too, is when you're testing out this idea, when you're running the business model out slowly and methodically versus the WeWork where they're like, just buy everything, just rent anything, and then we're going to make a premium on it, right? They just they miss the tenant improvements and the cost of like remodeling a lot of these places. The math didn't math from the beginning, right? And so when you look at the model that's doing it the right way, it seems like this is like the progress growth. And then you're agile because now you can shift things as we see these markets change, right? It changed in 2020 and then it's changing again in 2024. So I think it's a smart business model, which I'm excited about, because the first thing I thought was like 40,000 square feet. I don't know if they're going to be able to fill that up.
Right.
It kind of made me nervous. It's like you said, how many businesses?
We can house up to.
Well, I guess maybe not businesses, but like I guess offices.
Yeah, about 100, 120, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because we'll have a lot of club members. That's one of the most popular options, which is more entry level.
I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, we don't, like Nick said, like we don't sell office space. Right. We sell memberships to a community, and you get access to any kiln. And we use a lot of space that could be considered valuable by other companies. Like, oh, that should be an office. You can get a lot more money, but like we treat it as like nice sitting areas or a podcast studio or a lot of meeting rooms.
I know a really great podcast production company that could help.
That's true.
Businesses that they want.
We've talked about it.
Rather than, yay, Blue Form Media for you in the house. And that was another thing, right? That was a highlight of the intro, right? Is that podcasts, like that's like an amenity that is powerful, which is why we're all doing a podcast right now.
That's right.
Exactly.
So, man, what else was I was gonna ask you something else. I got sidetracked.
Well, if we're talking about the build of Kiln, something really unique about St. George is it's actually the second ground up build that Kiln has ever done. Normally we take over old retail space, or Park City's an old bowling alley, right? And we innovate that into an office space. Kiln St. George is going to be the second ground up building that Kiln has done, and the first one is in Provo. And so we're lucky that we get to learn from Provo and figure out what works and what doesn't, obviously. But also it's super cool to see the vision of Lee's mind come into his own building versus taking over a space. And so everything that's in these ground up kilns is coming straight from his brain and exactly what he thinks works. And so we're really lucky to be able to build up versus take over a space. And you can see if you've ever been to La Provo location, it's beautiful and it's so well thought out, where the community space is actually usable, where we can sell these club memberships that people can just have access to these spaces. And also the amount of meeting rooms that we're going to have is also super valuable to a real estate place like you were talking about, where it's like, hey, does this have value for me? It does, because you can bring clients into a beautiful, beautiful space at a club membership type pricing, where you're not having a massive office space where you don't really feel the benefit and the return on your investment,
Yeah, and there only should be so many real estate offices in prime commercial spaces. I feel like if I could do a ordinance change, I'd be like, no more real estate agent offices on main highways. We can't add anymore. Okay, if you're in a main road, you can't be a real estate business, because we need like retail shops, and we need those spaces too. Real estate just ends up filling in the gaps when another business doesn't take its place. But this is going to be a great option for real estate for sure.
Absolutely.
What other businesses? That was one of the questions. What do you see as the types of businesses that normally take over a kiln space?
Yeah. I would say I'll speak generally to it, and I would love to hear Nick's thoughts on what he's seen as talking to the community here and what St. George will be like. I think when we first modeled it out, it was like this expectation of 75% like tech startups, essentially. And if you go to Lehigh or some of these places, I think that's probably pretty accurate. But
And that's based off club membership, or like that would actually everything. Okay.
Yeah, everything. And it's pretty true in a lot of areas, but like lately we've been seeing more balance. You'll have professional services companies coming in, right? Or you'll have like insurance brokerages or different things. And I think it's good. I think it's fun to have other tech startups around each other, and they can like be like, "Oh, how's this going?" Or, "I heard you just raised," but also like they're pretty stressed out founders and teams. And like, it's nice to have some other people a little more steady and just at a different stage and can all kind of like help each other.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have an attorney in there who's like, these startups, like, what do I do? I have this problem. They can just go sit down and talk. So it's turning out more balanced. What do you think specifically about St. George, Nick?
Yeah. We're definitely seeing the tech, obviously, because that's a big focus of St. George right now, is to bring tech down to Southern Utah. So we're seeing a lot of that, but we're also seeing the insurance. We're seeing the real estate agents. That's a really big one that I've been keen on focusing on. Is why not? Why not have a nice place to come and meet clients? And so we just joined the board of realtors, and so we're a host with them. So,
like an affiliate. Yeah.
So we're affiliated with the board of realtors now, which is really cool. And then also wellness is going to be something completely different than any location, because on our first tour, it was 4 or 5 wellness professionals that either teach yoga or plan hikes or vacation wise, where they curate vacations for people that come down to Southern Utah, and here's the hikes you need to go on. Here's the reservoir you need to hit. And so I think we're going to see a lot of the wellness side of that as well.
That's
in
cool.
in our spot.
There was a couple on the tour I went on. I don't know if you remember. She was pregnant, and they had toured the Provo office before. What was that business? Do you remember?
Oh shoot. Processing company, I believe. Is that the
Oh,
one
I think that's
about?
right. That's right. And it was a husband and wife, and she was like, "Oh, it's going to be just like Provo." She sounded so excited. I just standing next to her, I was like, "Oh yeah." She walked through the Provo one, and she can see, because
she can see the vision.
It was just wood and concrete, and like you had to really vision.
We're trying
it
to
out.
paint that for everybody.
Yeah. And so she was so excited, and I was like, "Oh man, she's sold." Like she's definitely gonna sign up.
And that's
what I mean?
and we're really lucky to have Provo as like a key for us. And
it's not too far away too. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, if you're going up there, just stop by. People will give you a tour of the Provo office, but also we have pictures and video of that office that is going to look very, very similar to ours. So we can go on these tours and show you what it's going to look like right now, and then have photos of what it's going to look like when it's done, which is really cool. And it gives more of a perspective for people to get excited, because there's only so much we can do on a tour to get people excited and paint a picture and how creative someone's mind can be. But yeah, it was, I remember her saying that actually, and it was cool because it kind of elevated the group a little bit, because they were like, "Oh, you've been there, you've seen this," you know, and it helps them paint the picture for us as well. But yeah, those are the kind of people we're looking for right now. And then also just startup businesses is what we're really looking for, because if you can grow in St. George, you'll stay. There's no reason to leave, because it's such a beautiful place to live. The weather's great 80% of the time. Yeah. And it's a great community that we have. And all these events that I've been going to and all these people that I've been talking to,
I know. I feel like I've seen you in a bunch of places lately.
Yeah. I've kind of been all over the place.
That's good, dude, that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And so it's been really nice to kind of like get people's perspective on what Kiln's going to be. And just the excitement around it is something that us and the team down here, and also the team in headquarters, they're really excited about the location in St. George and how they picked it, where they picked it, and the type of people that we're going to bring in. So
we do have a good percentage of listeners that are up in the Salt Lake area, right? And so, thinking about the different locations there, how many, you have Lehigh, you have Provo.
Lehigh, Provo, Park City, Salt Lake, that's in the gateway. And then holiday location coming soon, which is going to be really cool.
So in any of those locations, right, if you wanted to stop by and see, you would say the Provo one's going to be the most like the one here?
It's a near replica.
Copy and paste of what we're going to have down here.
So if let's say you have somebody that's got a club membership up there, and they're thinking, maybe I don't want to live in Salt Lake or Park City, I want to go where it's warmer, right? They could come down here, and then they still basically could pick up their club membership and just keep running, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of one of the perks of Kiln is you have access to every kiln, whether you're in San Diego, whether you're in Boise, Idaho, Portland, Oregon, you can go to any location and work out of it.
That's so cool.
Just signing up for a club membership you have access into all these locations and also 24-hour access, which we'll staff it majority of the day. But if you have an idea at 10 o'clock at night and you need to just go jot down some stuff, you have access to Kiln.
Yeah.
You can go in and work out of your
And there's
space.
a little gym.
And there's a little gym that you can book out.
You can book it out.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Can you book it out at like 11:30 at night?
You can book it out whenever you want. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's walk through the staff. So staffing,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a business, I want to sign up. Who's there to do what? Like introduce me to the team.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to be pretty unique down here in St. George versus the traditional Kiln model because we have a need for events down here. There's not a lot of event space that can host people.
Yeah.
And so we'll have myself.
Black Desert will cover a lot of that. Though,
Luckily,
Yeah,
they
it's
will.
beautiful.
They will. And so we're actually working with Black Desert on taking on their smaller stuff so that they,
Yeah.
it's not worth their
Set
space
up and all
you know,
that space.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Or spillage, right? Where it's like,
Exactly.
I got somebody that wants this space at the same time. Can I toss them over here?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're partnering with them on a lot of those kind of things. But yeah, so we'll have myself as the director down here in St. George. I'll be kind of leading the community, leading the staff. And then under me will be what we call a member success manager. And that's technically what our sales manager is going to be. So they're going to be in charge of the accounts. They're going to be in charge of bringing members in, doing tours, and just kind of maintaining the sales pipeline. And then on the other side, we'll have the event staff. And so we call them the member experience managers. And so they're going to be taking a big part of hosting the networking events, hosting the luncheons that we're going to be doing, bringing in outside events to our theater room, our atrium, places that people can meet and network. And that's going to be their main job. And I think that's going to be such a huge part of St. George because everybody that I've talked to wants to host an event at Kiln. It's just such a beautiful space. We don't have a theater type area in St. George where you could host a presentation with a theater space. And so they'll have a couple people under them just working part-time, help running events. And then we'll have
Could I do a movie night where I
Yes.
invite my past clients and it's like a
absolutely.
private movie theater?
That has been done. Also setting up like the Switch
Jeremy
or the
Larkin is not
Xbox.
allowed to. You cannot allow Jeremy Larkin to use that idea. He's the only one excluded from this idea as
Okay.
I had it.
Yeah.
Jeremy Larkin.
Yeah.
He's never going to listen to this,
off the
but
list.
he'll hear that I said this.
Right on.
So I know that for sure.
Even
He
the
can't use
Provo,
it.
the Provo location was like streaming the Olympics. Like it's just like a cool space that can be used for pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Arian said something interesting recently in a meeting. Our CEO, again, founder, he's like, I don't want to see any Kiln logos inside a Kiln. You know, like typically you'll see it like, hey, there's an opportunity to brand like dry erase board markers and stuff. Like
Yeah.
we'll do that, and it's just like kind of a nice touch. But he's like, this is the member's spot. It's not ours. And that theater and that meeting room is there to make you look good,
Yeah.
not us.
Yeah.
And so, having this experienced team is there to think and put themselves in your shoes and say like, hey, if you're doing an interview today or bringing in a prospective employee, whatever, or client, like what would make you look good? We'll kind of act as a receptionist for you at the front desk a little bit and
Yeah.
offer water and go get you. But we really want it to feel like this is the member space.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That does.
yeah, and the really cool part about it, which is completely different from me, is when I interviewed, none of our staff is going to have an office. So we're out in the community the entire time.
Yeah.
And so you'll have complete access to us, which is something extremely unique and what I'm not going to be used to until we get rolling. But I think it's such a cool concept of not having an office. And it just kind of shows how Kiln operates a little bit, where it's mobile work, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not just sitting down in our office and you don't have access to us. And so that's going to be really cool, I think, for people and for our members to see is our staff's going to be out in the community space constantly and you'll have access to us.
So it was the sales manager and then the
Experience manager.
experience manager.
Yep.
And then you're kind of filling the other, you're filling for all those three roles as well, right?
Kind of jack of all trades. Yeah.
Jack of all
a little
trades.
bit.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
That's good, man.
yeah.
You picked a good guy.
Oh,
Weston.
we're so happy.
Thank you.
Yeah. We love Nick. I think we'll probably have a couple of part-time people on that experienced team. He might have said this, but like, when you have people there's so many talented like college age students here or just out of college who love to
I feel
help
like
serve
there's
people.
internships like could be an easy like
Yeah.
click. You want to do an internship? Click here. Here's the process, and this is what I need you to do, right? And then you get to learn from all these businesses as an intern, right? That could be a great
Absolutely.
Oh,
function.
It's amazing. I mean, the connections you get just serving these members, they're going to undoubtedly be like people like, hey, come work for me, you know, because they're just
And
taking care of
one
them
of the
all day.
biggest challenges we have, and I hear this over and over again, is we export our talent in St. George. And they've done it from the day the college started, which is a great movement towards, you know, servicing the local community for that.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is people would go there and then they'd leave St. George because they couldn't stay here.
Our talent's gone.
Our, you know, the town didn't have enough housing basically from Jump Street, and our population of 50 years and older is outpacing our younger generation, right? And so like this is a function, you know, you get the college to the, you know, internship to the small business that's Kiln, and they can see these businesses operate in ways they might not have ever really even known existed, right?
Absolutely.
Or just see this is a track record of success, and I have a live in-person example of it. You know what I mean? It'd be such a cool function.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we do internships in these college towns that we're already in. So in Provo,
cool.
and in Salt Lake, where people from the U or BYU can go and do internships with Kiln, and we're really looking forward to doing that with Utah Tech and Dixie Tech, and kind of creating that pipeline to keep talent in St. George. That's the whole point, is creating talent and keeping it in St. George. And so we're looking forward to working with Utah Tech on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I had something that just kind of shifts it, but I wanted to kind of point this out. One of Nick's main objectives, as he and his sales manager that he'll be hiring will be touring people, is to switch their view of like office space or anything from, oh, this is an expense line on my P&L. I have to go have a place to work. How much did I budget? We're not looking at it that way at all. We are trying to say, like, offensively, it's like, as a tech company especially, 90% roughly of your expenses as a tech company are your people. Yeah. You're hiring programmers, you're hiring all these people to go out and sell, right? And so it's like, if this is 90% of what you're spending money on, how are you going to best ensure that they're getting the best work done?
Yeah.
Because like we've all ourselves and worked for teams and companies where you're like, there are people that are not like firing on all cylinders, right? They're not like doing anything wrong where they're not like getting fired, but like, what do you think that spectrum is of like the best
people
work I
not
could do?
firing on all cylinders is the best. Like that's the best way to describe it, bro.
Yeah. It's like, I just sometimes look around and I'm like, you have hired these people, you're paying them X amount. They're crucial. Obviously, otherwise you wouldn't pay them that. But like, how much do you think you're getting out of them? Are you getting 70% of their best work? Are you getting 80? Are you getting 90? And what is that jump? If they're doing 70% of their best work, how much money can they bring the bottom line? And if they jumped up to 90%, how much would that change the bottom line? And you can see when founders or team leaders are thinking that way and they're coming in and they're like, my team's going to be excited to come into work every day. They're going to be proud of it. There's natural light here. There's plants. There's like so much going on. If they can just do 10% better work, that far justifies the amount of expense of having a membership at Kiln or an office. And then also just like, loyalty is built by being together as a team. If you have a fully remote team, they might love it and they appreciate that they can work remotely, but you don't know when someone's trying to poach them and they're doing these other interviews. They don't feel a lot of that same like loyalty to you because they've never really been around you, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so many things that happen that are good when a founder or a team leader is thinking, how do I invest in my biggest investment?
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming to be a support for, not just, oh, you need a real estate line on your P&L, like somewhere to work.
Yeah. That's such an interesting perspective because it really is high level thinking because it's a fundamental business principle that we've learned hundreds of years ago, right? And it's just a new generation of business owners that are trying to figure that out and understand how that works. And it's also evolving because of technology, right? What it looked like in the, manufacturing era of the industry, right? Or agricultural or whatever it might have been when you were trying to build a business, the relationships with the people that you saw or had the best experience with were the ones you stuck with. That builds that loyalty, is all those experiences. And so,
good point.
It just looks different. It just looks different today than it is 100 years ago or whatever.
I had a team leader come up to me recently and he was like, he's at Kiln Lehigh and really smart, cool guy. And he was saying that they'd spent like 2 weeks on this conflict with their remote team, like trying to figure this out. He comes in, but not all of his team does every day. And finally he just said, you know what? Everyone was having these Zoom call after Zoom call trying to figure it out. He's like, everyone show up at Kiln Lehigh on Friday. We're going to meet. He's like 20 minutes into it, it was solved.
That's funny. That was Elon Musk, that dramatic. It was like at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. on like a Sunday or something like that. It was some crazy. He tweets out, every employee of Twitter must be at the headquarters by like 8 a.m. or something like that. Everybody needs to get here right now. And he fired everybody who didn't show up.
Crazy.
Because he was like, our problem is that everybody's on their own siloed, island, and they only care about their thing. They don't care about anybody else's team. And he's like, the ship is sinking. Everybody get here now, and we'll solve the problem. And so we don't sink. And they didn't sink. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear. I would love to be like a fly on the wall in those meetings, and I think we do it with our company.
I think the Isaac, his latest biography was written by a guy, just his newest one. Mm-hmm. He was along for the ride. So in that book, it covers a lot of like the internal like conversations, like what happened during that Twitter takeover. It's pretty fascinating. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, that would be. I just think that
it's funny that it happened to like.
Yeah, well, it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
I mean, sometimes you picture like, oh, you're going to go through. There's a lot of transparency in Kiln in the building because it's glass, like a lot of glass, right? We don't let anyone who has an office frost their glass because we want to maintain that idea of like transparency. But you'll see like meeting rooms and teams in there, and it's not always just like everyone smiling and like.
You have a little frosted glass, so there's like a little private.
There's a little bit.
You
but
have
like,
to
we don't
stand
want. We don't want. After a while, everyone would just frost it because they just want privacy, and then it'd feel like a traditional office space.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So
you
like,
can see inside
you can see inside a lot of the meeting rooms and offices, right? People decorate their walls and do all sorts of stuff. It's cool.
Yeah.
But my point is like I love actually walking by a meeting room and seeing a team, behind closed doors, but I can see and you can tell they're getting into it a little bit and they're trying to hash something out. And it's not like I want to see people being like, harmful
Mallory
to each
and
other.
I know what that feels like, huh, Mallory?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
yeah, we get it.
We know exactly that.
It happens. It can be constructive, and it happens better in person, and it gets done quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could talk more about that.
I want you to talk more about that.
Here's one idea that I think is actually going to be the future of co-working in large part.
Oh my gosh, drum roll.
That's right.
Drum roll.
Get ready.
Popsicles. No, I'm just kidding. Arian and Lee talked about this a few years ago. I remember when I joined, it's been a year and a half. I didn't know anything about co-working before I came, but this was like when I first heard this, I just like became a fanboy and ran with it. It's a product called Basecamp.
Okay.
Yeah.
The idea of Basecamp is we're not going to a fully remote team and saying like, you should be in office 5 days a week, right? If they decide that can be great. The data does show that at least 2 days, if not 3, is ideal in office per week is really the ideal. That's what data is showing right now. There are certain industries like ours, like our team, we're going to be in 5 days a week because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. But Basecamp is this idea of like a team leader or business owner saying like, I don't want to pay for a huge office and it sits empty most of the time. It's pointless and it feels weird. I've also heard team members who will say like, hey, my boss told me I have to come in 2 days a week. So like I went in today and there was one person. So I was like, nope, turned around and got in my car, went home. And so you're starting to see people who are like, if I'm coming in, like, let's do this and have everyone here. Let's structure it. But you still have the team leaders saying, like, I don't want to pay for empty office space. So Basecamp is something where we will provide a really nice office. We'll put monitors and everything in, and then you can just have a day or multiple days of the week that are yours. So every Monday, it's like our team's there.
You're 100% right. This is like,
yeah, it's great.
I could see this play out in so many different businesses. Yeah, you're totally on to something.
And even like there are like the programmers who probably have a way better setup in their basement with 3 monitors and blackout curtains that they love and they just want to be there.
Steve, if you're listening, I know what your room is Steve.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they all see as well, like, hey, I'll come in on Mondays or whatever day my team chooses and we'll get some different work done and then I can have both. But it's nice to have that plug and play thing. They don't want to bring their monitors in and out every day and they don't have to spend the same amount as they would for the office full time.
Yeah, that's smart.
The other days of the week that you don't have that office, everyone on your team has club member access at any Kiln. So they can still come in, use meeting rooms, use the public desks and stuff.
That's a cool idea.
So
Was it worth the drum roll?
That was way worth the drum roll. Because now I could keep going too, but I want to come back to something. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you relay my message about the bathroom and the?
I did.
What did they think?
Actually, they loved it.
Yeah?
I met with our one of our.
Is it too late?
It is too late at our location, but it's something that they're going to be looking forward to with other plans on other locations. So they love the idea.
Yeah, dude, bathrooms. It's a battle. It's bathrooms are a battle.
Yeah.
There's
Tell me
this.
more. What were you saying? I didn't hear this.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So when Rob was on the tour, we were going through where St. George is unique with the executive suites. And so it gives you 2 private suites and a waiting room so you can have like more of a C-suite type appearance, right?
Mm-hmm.
These don't have bathrooms. So Rob was like,
It's big enough to where it's like, yeah, you got enough people in here. Do they want to walk? Because we had gotten all the way to that space and I hadn't seen one bathroom yet. And so I leaned over to the girl next to me. I was like, have you seen any bathrooms? And she's like, oh, I think they're back towards the entrance. I was like, oh man, that's far away.
yeah.
That's pretty far away.
And the whole point of the executive suites is to have a more of a private, intimate experience where it's your space.
Yeah. When you think of executive, you're like, no, this is like a turnkey spot. You just don't have a front desk maybe, but that's
Exactly.
They got a great one back there.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was actually a really good idea. And one of our developers, Logan, he's bringing that to Lee's attention. And it's something that we're looking to do, future locations that are going to be built from ground up, because it makes sense. I mean, we'll have enough bathroom space, but just the idea of having it more private, it's a great idea.
This is actually kind of funny. We've been having.
Will you name it the Rob instead of a John?
Yeah, there you go.
That's not the John or the Lou. You name it the Rob.
There
So are
go.
you saying the executive suites have their own bathrooms that they
And they're
would do?
going to name it. They're thinking about adding it to future ones.
Okay,
I had
got
the
it.
idea of.
I wanted to clarify for the audience.
Oh, thank you, Mallory.
You're welcome.
She's like, I'm confused. If I'm confused, everybody's confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will you name it the Rob though? That's
Yeah, you got
if he puts it in it, just say, hey, the guy who gave you the idea wants to name him
your
all
face on every door?
That's right.
You will get all the credit.
Get off the pot. Rob's face is watching you. You know.
Rob. You don't have to do that. I had one other idea. What do you think of that idea?
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah, it's too bad it's kind of too far to this design. We noticed recently too, like we were talking about it. A few members told us like, oh, I feel like the men's room, sometimes the stalls are taken, and I can't get one or something. And we realized like guys are going in there and just scrolling their phones. Like they're spending 3-5 times as long as they need to because they're just like taking a break. And
I can solve the problem for you if you want.
Please.
You put a timer on the light and you make it a little short. And then all the lights go off. You're like, oh, shoot, I got to get out of
I
here.
gotta get up. Yeah.
Yeah, when you have these like separate stall like we have that are fully enclosed, you could definitely do that. We've been coming up with like kind of fun signage that like pokes fun at it and it goes on the inside and just reminds them. So if anyone thinks of a catchy phrase of what to put, we put less phone on the throne.
Nice. That's good.
We
I'm
don't-
horrible at that. I would go to
It's-
ChatGPT instantly for that one. I was like, my brain doesn't work that way. ChatGPT, give me a couple
Well, you're
of
not going to
examples.
get your name on the bathrooms if you don't give us your original idea.
I'll think of one. I'll try to think of
There
one.
you go.
So I gave you one other idea. Do you remember?
Yeah, misters.
Misters on the
Yeah.
patio.
Yeah.
Just you're probably here in St. George. That
honestly, we
and it's
probably
not-
will end up installing those because what's really cool about the patio that we're going to have, and I
It's
think
sick.
the view first of all is you can see all of St. George in the view. It's so beautiful. You can see all the way out to where we're at, in St.
and it's never going to
Clement.
change.
Nope, it'll never change.
It's
Nothing's
not- it's
going
not
to get
gonna
built in
get-
front of it.
exactly.
And so there's one. That's awesome. The second spot is we're making it so much more functional than other locations where we can host parties out there. We can host a cocktail party. We can host smaller events, intimate events. But the cool thing is we have a retractable awning that's getting built. And so it's going to provide shade rather than just sun beating down on you the entire time. And so it's actually really cool where they're going to have it be able to retract back and forth. So at night we can retract it back and you can see the stars of St. George, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the misters thing, I guarantee that's something we'll install. Probably going to happen because
Pretty needed.
you don't want to be
Needed.
out in the 116 degrees sweating. So
Keep those ideas flowing.
I know.
2 for 2.
I know
Yeah, I don't need any more.
We're going to take him on another tour and just keep riding.
No,
driving
no,
down.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Free
Maybe
labor,
I'll get an
right?
office space over there,
Misters-
and then I'll just pester you all the time with all my ridiculous ideas because they're endless.
Be worth it.
If you ask Jeff, I just spew him out all the ideas.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about something. I'll change the subject and be like, I just had an idea.
Oh yeah. I remember when we went out to lunch a couple weeks ago, you had a bunch of different ideas of just interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do with Kiln, but I was like, I didn't even think about that for St. George. That's a good idea, you know?
Yeah,
Misters in the bathroom to
Misters
get people out.
There you
to get
go.
people out. Yeah, that's the
Space for
pattern
the shower.
interrupt right there.
Yeah.
So what else? You might miss your call. We got some time. What else do you guys want to talk about? I got. We could get a little bit more granular into what what some of the features are inside of Kiln here. But do you want to talk about anything else? We talked about something yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be good.
I kind of wanted to talk about the networking benefit of Kiln.
Okay.
Where we have all these events where we go and meet. We have Rise, we have the chamber that hosts events. We have all these different things that you have to go somewhere to meet. Kiln is going to provide just a 24/7 networking hub, which I think is just so cool. And we don't have anywhere like that because personally, I've been meeting out of cafes for the last month and it's so distracting. It's so hard to actually meet with somebody there where at a place like Kiln, it's a 24/7 hub of just incubated ideas and networking opportunity where we can host these networking events, but also you just working in a community desk is going to rub shoulders with somebody that you don't know and an idea that you don't have. Yeah. Right. And so I think that just the networking part of Kiln is going to be such a huge benefit for St. George, whether or not you're a member or not. We're going to host events. We're going to host networking type things that people can come in, but also you could just be sitting next to somebody just like this and bounce ideas off of each other, which I think is super unique and not something that you have to search for necessarily, but something that we just are going to have for people.
So are you guys going to create any of your own host? Like you would be the host versus like I came to you with an idea like Rise or, the chamber puts on Rise or Housing Action Coalition does a forum. Is it you are going to say, hey, we're going to do this thing, and then you invite a bunch of people?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Oh yeah, we're going to do that all the time. If you go onto the Kiln socials, you'll see every day something will get posted of some sort of event at a location that Kiln is hosting. And so whether it's...
Do you have like a schedule? Is it like 12 months? You're like, we got to do something like this, something like this. Is that what you guys kind of do?
Yeah, there's some like sacred cows, I guess you could call it. Every Kiln, you're going to see like a Waffle Wednesday every month.
Is that Seth Godin?
I think, yeah.
Sacred cows? Purple cow. I don't know. Sacred cow is not Seth Godin.
I don't know.
No, not sacred cow. Purple cow. I'm sorry, dude. I got sidetracked again.
That's all right.
Seth Godin's brilliant. If you
he is. But yeah, Waffle Wednesday, once a month, where Nick's team is going to actually make waffles from scratch and serve it to the members. And we'll even like invite a member to throw on an apron. They don't have to do any work, but like we'll help serve that final step and kind of like maybe have a little signage up and get to know each other. We're always trying to create collisions like that where people can naturally meet each other. We do a happy hour that we call Après Work once a month, where we'll like about 3:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday, we'll throw out like an incredible charcuterie spread and drinks. And there's like it's just like, we put a lot of money into it. It's really beautiful.
And you don't have to be a Kiln member to go to those events?
For these, you do.
We do. We have recently in Provo, we invited the larger community to come out where we encouraged our members to bring a friend. But it is for the community. Yeah. Kind of like as a thank you from us, and also just like, hey, get away from your desk and do that. I mean, we put out snacks morning and afternoon every day, but it's like an extra special one.
Yeah.
Holiday parties. We've had cornhole tournaments, like just dumb stuff that members have like mentioned, and we do it and have some prizes that we pay for and give out. It's just like encouraging people to take a little break and have fun and get to know each other.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then more often than not, I mean, like we're focusing on this professional development. Like, can we bring in Robert? If someone's trying to like, I want to learn how to podcast, like to be able to bring you in and you speak about that, and we tell our members, and it's like, anyone who wants to learn how to podcast for their business, come on in. And it's like, we've paid you or someone to come in or arranged it at least.
Yeah.
And so it's like, people are like, man, I wouldn't have been exposed to this if I wasn't at Kiln today.
Yeah.
Or didn't have the membership.
That's so cool. There's so many more ideas. That's so awesome, man.
Yeah.
That networking, when you start stacking up the value, there's so many intangible things that can be activators in growing your business that it's almost just like a no-brainer to where, if you really think just long enough, when you just take an hour and 20 minutes and think through like this thought, because I think of what we've talked about, we've given so many like really solid value where how many people can say no to that? I don't know.
And that's the point.
That's our hope.
It's to get people in the space, and then you'll want to be there. Right.
Yeah,
and sure. So these tours that we're doing, where we encourage everybody to come, it's getting inside the space, and so we can sit down and talk for a little bit, so we can explain exactly what that value holds and where we can provide value for you. Right. It's not the other way around where we're just trying to sell something to sell something. It's like, how can Kiln provide a value for your business and make you grow versus we're just trying to get money or anything like that.
Here's something else that I foresee in St. George a lot is I think you have a lot of remote workers that are really talented. They want to live down here and they've gotten their jobs and have been given permission to work from home. Those companies often either huge corporations, right? People who work for, Apple or Microsoft or Airbnb or something. We've talked to several, but they can get like a per diem, almost like an allowance for a co-working membership every month. So you go get like a resident desk at Kiln, and it's like, I used to work from home, but they're happy to give me this, and it actually improves my productivity.
Yeah. And it's such a big perk.
Yeah. And the companies are like, we want you actually to be able to like improve your quality of work and output, obviously. So I think you'll see a lot of that, because there's not a ton of businesses that are actually headquartered here, but you have more and more remote people who could be a little team or a kind of like a solo that would do that.
Yeah. I, sitting here, even after the tour, I was like, yeah, it's a cool idea. I could see myself doing that, but I wasn't really like sold on, okay, when my lease is up next, what would it look like? Right? Because you're already in a lease. I'm already in an office. And a lot of times those things are connected to other people that care about your business and want to grow your business. And, they own the space, but we want to replace, put somebody in behind us, right? If need be. So there's always that, this office space is providing me a lot of what I need already, but Kiln can also give me another leg up. So this is just me thinking for myself, right?
Yeah.
My own businesses. And, I can't help but think the club membership is like the perfect function for somebody in that transition time. Is that right? Is that the way to think about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the club membership? Like, what's the cost for that one? I know I said I wasn't going to ask you prices, but
Yeah, no. So our club membership runs at $275
okay.
per month. And so that's on a month-to-month basis.
Per individual.
Per individual.
Yep.
So like, let's say you have let's say you want a private office, right? And you get a 4-person office, you get 4 club memberships with that. And so the club membership is for somebody that's going to come in and work a couple hours a day, come in and just get emails done, or wants to be part of the network and wants to be part of the community, versus a private office where they're paying X amount of dollars for their private space, right?
Yeah.
So a person like that's in a transition period that's like, I'm not ready for that full office yet, but I need somewhere to go and work. So I'm out of my basement, out of my kitchen, where, I mean, for example, like myself right now, obviously Kiln's not finished, right? And so I'm currently working from home. I'm going nuts. Like I'm going absolutely crazy. So I try and get out on the town as much as I possibly can, but
that's why I work in my truck.
Right.
I love my family, but I can't work from home.
It's exactly. And so, it provides that space for people to get out of their house, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a too high of a dollar amount that it doesn't make sense, but also the convenience of what Kiln provides cuts into that dollar amount as well. Like you're not filling your house with snacks. You're not, paying for, I mean, obviously you're going to have internet at your house, or going to a cafe where your internet is crap, and you can't work off of it, Yeah. And so that's kind of what the club membership's based around, is those transition periods, or those people that are just, I need to get out of my house for a couple hours, have a place to sit down and work.
Cool. And so that's kind of like, that's the flexible one. And then the full solid office space. Do you want to go over prices just in case somebody's sticking with us and they're still listening in?
Yeah. I mean, we can definitely go into prices. Like it all just comes down to how many people you need. Right. And so we have office space that's going to be from 2 people to we're able to house 50 people, right. Into our corner office spaces. And so the price is going to range anywhere from $1,100 to $11,000.
In Lehigh,
right?
we have members that are, they're huge 58-person office. They're paying over $20K a month. And it's like, they love it. It's just like and that flexibility, even at that size, our top sized office, they could do month to month, rather than going and signing a 10-year lease or a 5-year lease or even a 3-year.
Right.
You don't know where you're going to be and what it's going to be like, what the world will be like. So to have that flexibility, and then
just gives a peace of mind.
Nick touched on this. Like we actually are interested in learning how to like succinctly educate people too. Like they'll look at a sticker price of like, I could work from home free, or like this cafe, or like maybe a kind of crappier office versus Kiln. And it's like, this seems like a big investment, but when you go think about like getting internet, getting furniture, turnover with your team, all sorts of things, it actually is very equal.
Real plants. And then you got to water them. Make sure somebody keeps watering them.
There's so many things
they
you
don't
don't
die.
think of.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the convenience factor as well, where when you're setting up a traditional office space, you have to do all of that work, where Kiln already has it set up for you.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people, time is money, right? And if you're wasting all your time picking out a desk, picking out furniture, finding a person to do your janitorial.
I'm going to take you off track just real quick. what about that like design of furniture and things like that? There's a lot of them that come already built in. Is it all of them are that way? Or like in the executive suites, would they have a custom set that they wanted to put in there? Is that something that you guys would do, like a tenant improvement of sorts?
Yeah, so I mean, every office is going to have desks and chairs, and we've like our custom made desks. It looks nice.
In the
chairs, they're
space.
nice, in the space. If someone wants to ask us to take it out and they want to bring their own in, great. Some people have a huge L-shaped desk they love and they do
Okay.
it that way. But yeah, there are times when we've, like outfitted certain big offices with like some nice soft seating, right? Or some art. If people really love it and they'll be like, I have no idea what I'm doing and how to design this. Can you help? And we're happy to help a little bit there. But yeah, it's the whole space is so nice looking. I mean, as far as we know, this is the first time in the world that a co-working building has been built for co-working by coworkers. It's almost always a takeover. It's kind of what the building like.
Yeah, those
what
are
it
the
was
worst.
at.
Those are so hard to like.
And we do that too.
And you typically just have to go stud to stud, and you're like, we just redo the. You're stuck with the roof height, and then you do the best you can with what you got.
I mean, I went to New York recently and toured a bunch of them. Some really cool co-working spaces there. Nice people, but you're just like you're in a building that was built in the 20s, and the ceilings are where they're at. It's really hard unless you put a ton of money into it.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I got to remember how grateful I need to be for this St. George and Provo and all of them that we're doing. They're so beautiful, but. Yeah, I think the design is going to blow people away. We might get a little desensitized to it because we see it every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We get desensitized to a lot of stuff. What do we want? I took you off track a little bit. Do you want to finish that thought? I don't think you had anything else to say.
No, I think I'm good. Yeah.
So what's next? What's the next kiln to be built? Where are you guys going next?
Oh, that's a fun question.
That is a fun question.
The next one to open will be in what we call Biltmore, which is like the east side of Phoenix.
Okay.
We just opened in Gilbert recently down there, a little bit further south, but now Phoenix will be there. We have like 8 that are being built right now. We just opened in Littleton, Colorado.
Okay.
We already have one in Boulder. We're building in Bozeman, Montana. We're building in Rancho Bernardo, which is just kind of by these other locations above San Diego that we have. We have Fort Collins, Colorado, likely coming up.
Dang.
Bend, Oregon. There's a lot of them.
Takes a deep breath
for any of this.
Yeah. We don't wanna get in
Vegas.
trouble,
Vegas will be opening soon.
Because we can edit anything. If after you're like, I probably should run that one by. If you want us to bleep a couple out, I'm okay doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we're taking over a huge event space in Las Vegas next month. It'll open up, and I'm gonna have the opportunity to go down and check that out here pretty soon. And going into the Vegas market is actually going to be really cool because we're going to be taking.
When are you
over,
going? Can I go with you? I'll just be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I'm going first week of October.
You can tell me to be
come on.
quiet.
Yeah.
If you want me to say, stop asking questions.
Just come along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just be down there for a day and a half and just kind of learning the space and seeing exactly what they need and whatever expertise or help I can give. That's my plan going down there. But yeah, we're going in the Uncommons. There was just an article written about it recently, our Las Vegas location going up. But
Are you in Tennessee at all?
No, but I used to live in Nashville. I love it.
I'm surprised Knoxville's not on the radar.
I think there's a lot of places that would be good. I think the furthest east we looked at right now, we're very fortunate because we have a lot of people coming to us saying like, build a kiln here. I want you one here. Like,
I think it sounded like it. You rattled off like, I honestly thought you were going to say 1 or 2, and then you were rattling off a bunch. I was like, holy cow.
I think we got 14 open now. We've got another 8 that are in works officially. I think probably the next one that's like more east would be Texas. But we'll see. Again, Arian and Lee, they did these all over the world, but right now they're like hyper-focused on the Western U.S.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
We need Hawaii.
Cool.
That's what we need, doesn't it?
That's where you want to go?
We have a lot of
I'll take that
volunteers
one
for
over.
that one to
Yeah.
go run that one.
Yeah, they all want to go run it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard some people, they move there and they hate it.
The island fever gets to them a little bit.
Yeah. And just the island culture too is just so, it's definitely a culture shock for some people. They're like, this is not the kind of community I'm used to.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable. And then they
Interesting.
come back.
Totally.
But it's St. George is a little bit like that.
It is. Yeah. And that's why we're curating it to this location to St. George. And that's actually one of the, we can segue into this a little bit. So I've been with Kiln for a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to see every single Utah site. Every single site that I've been to is completely different culture, completely different vibe. Where you're at really resonates with the community that Kiln curates for them. And it's such a cool idea where I can go to the Lehigh location and it's just buzzing constantly. There's people moving quickly. There's tons of people in there. Totally different vibe than the Park City location. a little bit more laid back, a little bit more relaxed. That's how I kind of think the St. George location is going to be too. It's going to be a mix of both, where we do things a little bit slower in St. George. It's more laid back community, more relaxed, which is, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we live down here, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's the wellness. It's like the wellness kiln.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be really exciting to see how that happens in St. George and what kind of vibe we create at this kiln.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been super interesting to pop into each kiln over this last month and kind of feel out what they do and how they run their spot. And that's actually the really nice thing about kiln is each is different, and each director, like in my role, can kind of mold it to how the community sees it. And I'm excited to get it started here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We kind of covered what your role was with kiln, but I don't think I really understand
No
where
one
you fit in.
knows. No one knows.
You're
No,
the ninja.
I was going to say real quick, and I'd love to tell you, thank you.
Wes is like, I actually didn't want to be on this podcast. Nick
No,
made me.
I did.
I
I was
forced
waiting.
him into coming.
No,
Yeah.
I love it. We're very choosy, very picky on who we let be a community director.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know, Nick, you definitely got a great guy.
Oh yeah, it's
Appreciate
amazing.
that. Thank
He
you.
will have, as they all do, a lot of autonomy to be like, our objective, kiln, we trust you. We're kind of notorious for taking forever to hire because we just are very choosy and you have a ton of interviews. But like it'll feel a lot like Nick and his background because that's we trust his skill set and his approach. Obviously, we'll give him a ton of support, but that's what's cool about it. And I do love that Park City. You go up there and Kristen and Katie and Steph, awesome team. The members love them so much. And this is every site, but like it's very cool and it feels like Park City. Yeah. My role, regional director. So essentially, I was a community director of Lehigh, and then from there, we recently created another layer. So Jeff, I guess after a while, you get tired of having like 50 people be direct reports to you as a COO. And so we recognized as we grow, we need to have another layer to be able to support the directors. And so I'm over the Utah sites, essentially.
Okay. All of Utah. So that's the region. And then you have a couple other regions because with all those other ones opening, it seems like you're going to have to go another layer.
Yeah, I think we have 3 regionals. So I think right now we think that'll carry us a while, but it's in large part because we have really competent directors. It's not like they're like, what do I do on this, right? We're just checking in and supporting them. So
yeah, you could get I think a director could probably do, or a regional would be like 12.
yeah,
It's like, that's kind of like max. Like when you're thinking about
that's
how many
probably right.
how many people can you manage? I get that from the Bible, by the way. The 12 disciples. If Jesus could do what Jesus did with 12 dudes, he just picked 12 dudes.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like any company could do anything with 12 people. You have 12 people, you have 12 of the right people.
There you go.
You could do
That
whatever
is
you want.
deep. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Biblical.
You got to listen to my religion and politics episode of the pod, man. We talk about
That's
religion and politics. But what else do you guys want to talk
brave.
about? It's brave. I don't know if you want to talk about that. I can talk about that.
No.
What do I want to know? I want to know what you think your listeners are thinking about Kiln.
I think they're going to be excited about Kiln. I think it's a lot of validation for what you hear in other places, but you can't necessarily see it playing out in like actual businesses coming here. Because, people, I've interviewed the CEO, founder of Intergalactic for Zonos, some of the biggest companies that are here in Southern Utah. And getting an inside glimpse of what they're dealing with is super important. So I hope a lot of the listeners right now that are listening, they're getting more validations from what we've heard from past episodes of the podcast. And why I do this podcast is to, see the unique gems that are Southern Utah and like, let's shine a light on those awesome things. And Kiln fits like right into it. You know what I mean? And so I think the listeners of this, it's gonna be additional validation. The community as a whole, I don't know what they think. I think we have what's the other Workspace here? That's like the tiny WorkTurf. WorkTurf. They have a couple locations, but it's a mom and pop. I don't know if when they set that up, there was a big pattern of success before that. It's like, this is a great idea and we did need it and they saw a need and filled it, but the leveling up, right, of it.
That's all. 75% of co-working is mom and pop.
Yeah.
Because there's people who are like, I love taking care of people. I love community.
It's still
I have
new
this
enough
space.
to where that segment of the industry, right, hasn't yet evolved, but you're rapidly bringing it to fruition on a franchise basis, right? Not that it's franchise,
No,
but
yeah.
that idea of that, like, there's
Brand
continuity,
scalable.
brand scalable. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're trying to maintain that. Like, we want you, like, those mom and pop co-working spaces are so cool, and those communities get really tight, and they love it. But like, there is a benefit to us figuring out how to best do this and then repeating it. But still, again, the site levels, like Kiln, we're not like, we actually have every location is its own business essentially, and we want every single one of them to get their own complete attention. We're not like, oh, we don't really care if this one isn't going great, we'll just cover it up with the other ones. Like, they're all their own things, and Nick is going to put like 110% energy into it, and that's why the members are really happy at him.
Which is cool, because each Kiln will have its own vibe. You know what I mean? Even if the office space is like, if Provo and St. George look the identical, right? When you come here from Provo, there's going to be slight changes, but they're going to be subtleties, right? There's going to be like the types of businesses that are there, the vibe, right, of that location is going to feel different, right? And so that'll be cool to see it evolve over time.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see it. I'm excited to see members have milestones and celebrate each other and be like, man, I never would have met you if I hadn't been here, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm thinking of like Marty and Kiln Lehigh, who created the Shadow Draw app. It's an app that teaches you how to draw on iPad. Super cool app. But like, he got featured as like the app of the day in the Apple App Store. And we found that out. And our team, we went and bought him a cake that day. Some other members came with us. We gave it to him, took a picture, and all sang to him. And it's just like, that happened right there at that resident desk, right by the window. We see Marty every day. And it's like, people around the world who download that app, they just assume it's some big company somewhere, but it's like it's just a guy who's really smart and cool who's pushing for it.
The artist, right? It's like, who was in the room when Beethoven finished like writing his different opuses and all those different things? Like, who was in the room? And a lot of times those artists are alone, right? And they don't get that celebration. So like, being able to add that community element to those moments, because I was thinking Peter Levels, so Lex Friedman, I think you'd love this podcast.
Okay.
But he has all these successes where he's making $50,000 a week. Just him. It's just him and a computer and a laptop. It's not like he has some server engine, you know what I mean? Just using AI, and he's making $50,000 a week just by himself. There's no community to be like, whoa, way to go, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's cool to see. But the needs being fulfilled, and man, it's going to be awesome to be a part of that, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You guys got a cool job. Jeez.
It's a cool job.
Yeah, we do.
Especially
That's
right
a cool
now.
job. It's a cool business.
Right now, spreading the word. It's been a lot of fun. Definitely, I've met a lot of really cool people over this last month that I would have normally have connected with if in the hotel business, And
Yeah.
it's something completely unique for me and something out of my wheelhouse, but it's such an exciting thing, and it keeps you going, definitely, which is really cool.
Yeah. Have you heard of Cody Aident? Have you met Cody Aident yet?
Yeah.
So he has the hospitality podcast. He talks about hospitality because that's his business, right?
He's with Vibrant. Right?
Vibrant. Yep. Vibrant.
Yep.
I think
just reached out to him.
that'd be a cool conversation, especially with guys like Lee and Arian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he comes like a high level hospitality perspective too, where that'd be a cool conversation. You guys should get together for sure. Next time you come out, the grand opening.
Yeah.
When do you think the grand opening is going to be?
We're shooting for January.
Cool.
January 13th is kind of our tentative date. But January's tracking right now, and so we're on pace. I mean, you saw the space. Like, it looks completely different since the last time you were in there. I was just in there on Friday last week, and we'll be in there this Friday, and so cool. And so but yeah, January is where we're looking at opening.
Cool, man. Well, I'll be there.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Got to get you out there.
I'll be there. It'll be fun.
We'll have a big opening party. It'll be really cool, and a bunch of the community is going to come out. And then we got stuff.
I want to meet Arian and Lee if they do come out for real.
Yesterday we had Provo's 1-year anniversary party, and there was a dunk tank, and Arian sat on it.
Nice.
Yeah, I knocked him in.
Nice.
I did dunk tank. We did dunk tank. We raised money for one of our police officers here in St. George. We did an event like raising money for him and his family because I think he's passed away now. But yeah, we raised money because he got terminal cancer, and it was like you could be 3 months, might be 6 months.
Jeez.
Right.
And so we did dunk tanks. So we had camel ride in the park.
Oh,
It was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Josh Wilson, shout out. Should we wrap it and then maybe do episode 2?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Absolutely.
This has
Let's
been
do it
awesome.
again.
You missed your
Yeah.
call, dude. I'm sorry.
Hey, know where I'd rather be.
Liar.
Yeah,
Hey, thanks for listening,
I love
everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you out there. Thanks for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Make sure you're following us on all the social media websites. We love your support. We love the dialogue. We want to continue that going.
Find us at realestate435.com. We'd love to help you find a house here in town or help you get wherever you're going.